There was a time not so long ago when the Ravens could basically say, you know we're running, we know we're running, and we're going to run it down your throat anyway. I can remember Christmas Day against the Texans. They had big old Pat Ricard. They brought in the extra offensive lineman. They're saying, you try to stop us, you can't. And they ran all over the Houston Texans on Christmas. Well, this year, when teams know they're running, they can't do a damn thing running the football. And that's in large part because this offensive line just stinks.
You know, there's a lot of ways you can evaluate teams, and you can look at different metrics, and I like to look at differentials sometimes. I like to look at first down differential, what a team does on first down versus what they give away on first down. I like to look at red zone differential. And I also like to look at pressure and sack differential. In other words, what you generate, pressure rate and sack rate, and then what you give up. And as we documented in our defensive six-pack, and we've documented pretty much every game, anybody watching these games, they're a bottom three team in the NFL in generating pressure and generating sacks. They're also allowing pressures on 43% of their dropbacks. That's second worst in the NFL. And they're allowing sacks on 11% of their dropbacks. That's fourth worst in the NFL. That's not the terrain you want to be in. Now, is some of that on Lamar holding the ball too long and this or that? Yeah. Is some of it just because Cooper Rush and Huntley aren't that good? Sure. But, like, this should be one of the strengths of their team. A tenet of team building is you build your teams from the inside out. You could say DeCosta neglects his teams from the inside out. And this offensive line is pretty piss poor. And none of those five, or actually it's six now, because Noteboom and Ronnie Stanley are basically a tandem. And they probably will be the rest of the year until it's just Noteboom. And maybe that's even happening sooner than later.
Harp said the ankle's structurally sound. He said that today.
The guy's not playing football. Their season's on the line. And he's not been out there. So that's, and Noteboom's not a starting tackle. He's not even a good backup tackle. I'm not sure he's a tackle. So that's where they are. And Linderbaum's having his worst season. Rosengarten has been abused at times. In the second half, the Rams got pressure whenever they wanted it. They don't pick up twists and stunts. We've talked to you about that. And if you blitz them, it's been a problem even for Lamar, where that's something he's truly elite at, but he can't overcome everything. I think we're getting deep into October. I think it's fair to say this is a bad offensive line that can get worse, because I'm pretty concerned about Ronnie Stanley and whatever's going on there.
And then you add to the fact the penalties, where the game opening drive, which looked really good, you're running the football, you're moving it, and Derrick Henry on a 2nd and 6 when they're in the red zone runs for 5 yards, holding on Falele. Cooper Rush scrambles for 7 yards, 3rd and 8.
Just kill it.
Holding on Ronnie Stanley. And then even the third drive where Derrick Henry runs for 12 yards on a 2nd and 5, get to the Rams' 24-yard line. Linderbaum called for a block in the back, and then you end up turning the ball over on downs. So you're costing yourself points there as well. So it's the ineffective play, and then you add the penalties, which puts you behind the sticks, and with Cooper Rush at quarterback, you're not overcoming that.
Hey, here's the odd thing, and I was thinking about this earlier. If you had a good offensive line, you should be able to run the football even with subpar quarterback play. You know how I know that? I know the game has changed, but we saw the Ravens do it 20 years ago. Jamal Lewis ran for 2,000 yards, and their quarterbacks were Anthony Wright and Kyle Bowler. They made the playoffs. They would just run behind Ogden and Mulatalo. Now, granted, Ogden is top 1% of left tackles. Yes. Mulatalo's a very good guard. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. But they told you what they were going to do, and they did it repeatedly because they were good at it. So that really, it's a scar on this team that this line is so bad, because if the line was good, they could have tread water while Lamar was out, but they can't, even when Lamar was there. And that's in part why he's hurt, even though some people think he's faking, but it's in part why he's hurt, because they can't block anybody. This line is so bad.
But let's not act like that's a shocker, because we did all right. I can remember us doing Bone the exercise, ranking the position groups.
Oh,
yeah,
I have that too.
And the biggest weakness was offensive line, especially if Ronnie's ankle gets
Yeah.
And their answer to that was nothing in the draft. We trust all the
Henry
guys
Jones.
we've already drafted. And Noteboom. And I'm not a big guard guy, but if your guards are bad enough that they turn your center south, and your center's already undersized to begin with, And now they can play all kinds of games up there and fight for matchups. And again, run twist and stunts. And the two guys on either side of Linderbaum don't know what the hell's going on. That's problematic. And yeah, they ran the ball better in this game, but I still wonder if they really stick with this 5-man unit, because you need to evaluate who's a part of this thing moving forward and who's not. And like, Daniel Faalele is not a starting NFL offensive lineman.
I want to get to that because I'm more bullish on Linderbaum than you are, but you're right. Those guards are so bad, they're having a negative effect on Linderbaum. Like they are playing so poorly, and people kill Faalele. Voorhees is just as bad.
Yeah.
Like, he's just as bad. So, like, now you've got two guys playing subpar football, and it's killing your center, who has been playing at a high level.
But, like, I don't think he's long for here anyway.
I don't either.
So,
free agent.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to pay to keep him. I doubt it. They're going to have so many other holes to fill.
But agreed. But
and like they think they can draft us. They think they can get a starting center off the street because it happened for them once before, so it could happen again.
Sure, but that's more to your point. Like, the job they didn't do with this line in the offseason, if you put competent guards around Linderbaum, you're still riding it out with them, but the line looks better this year.
I mean, think about what's invested in their offensive line financially. Zilch.
Nothing.
Who builds their team that way?
That's it.
But Ronnie's on a nothing contract. They got him because he's got. He's
at least making money. The rest of them are on their rookie deal.
Making mid-level tackle money.
If Ronnie Stanley was willing to let other teams look at his medicals, and he thought that they would like his medicals, he would have made more money on the open market.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that's just how bad it is. Maybe that's how much he's on borrowed time.
But either way, I think you misheard what I said.
They're not paying anybody on the offensive line, and their answer to that was, "Nah, we don't need a swing." Say this about Andy Reid: he wasn't sure about his offensive line. He wasn't sure about the young left tackle.
Yeah,
paid $30 million, 15 for 2, to a swing tackle who shut down Hutchinson last night and may have saved their season. So these guys have nothing invested in their offensive line.
Maybe I misspoke. What I'm saying is, if Ronnie thought the other teams would like his medicals, he'd have made a lot more money on the open market, because, like, coming off the year he came off of, there would have been teams that have been interested in Ronnie Stanley.
He got asked to take a pay cut a long time ago, and he took it.
Yep.
Before he got this.
Yep.
Because there was nothing else out for him then.
But, again, this is kind of the indictment, and this goes back years where even when they were paying Ronnie top left tackle money, Zeitler wasn't making much money. Morgan Moses wasn't making much money.
No.
Like, they really haven't paid offensive line in general.
So this is where we are.
They tried to cheap it with Villanueva.
Yeah, that was a disaster
for a year.
That was a disaster.
Oh, let's get a guy for mid-level right tackle money and play him at left tackle.
$8 million.
But I'm just telling you, when stuff really matters, and when seasons are won or lost or defined in January and February, and they come up small, it's in the trenches. It's lack of pass rush. It's not real playmakers on defense because they want to convince you that Van Noy is a difference maker. And if it ever worked, that'd be great. But I'm just telling you, fire the coach who's been here forever and over-empower the same mooks I'm talking about. And watch how that goes. Watch how it goes. It will be, let them find their McDaniel. Let them find their Callahan. Go for it.
And so this is where we are right now. And Harb said again today that everything's on the table, offensive line. And I did mention, and I was being semi-facetious, but Emory Jones, they did draft in the 3rd round. And he's been practicing. So my guess is, coming off the bye, we may see him, and we're probably going to see Corey Bullock, who was another darling of training camp, and he was a center at Maryland, but he's probably going to play some guard. It would not shock me at this point if we get to the Bears a week from Sunday and Bullock's at one guard and Emory Jones at the other guard.
Well, and look, they've had a little bit of success with Faalele as the jumbo tackle. Like, I think they're going to need a jumbo tackle, especially if
he is jumbo.
Because it sounds like Ricard will play the Harbs later, but Harbs is kind of
he's not sure,
shoving a little dirt on Ricard.
Yeah.
So
it's his call.
All the more reason why you might want to try to see if somebody else is at least a below average replacement level guard for the guys who are failing there, and then see if one of them can be your 6th offensive lineman and lean into that.
And Emory Jones is far from a sure thing to even suit up for debate, because Harbaugh said today that he still hasn't been able to work pass protection.
Well, he's got 2 weeks. He's got 2 weeks to do that, Bum. That starts now.
I guess.
That starts now.
I guess.
Hey, desperate times, Bum.
It is desperate times.